Wrapping up a heavy news week with our friend, of course, uncanceled host coming up, Kevin Kietzman on KCMO. How you hanging in there, my friend?
I'm doing well, man. This has been a tough week, not just for people in the media covering an unbelievably difficult story to cover, but, I mean, I've heard it from all our listeners. I've got a record number of emails from people that listen to my podcast this week that have reached out to me. I don't follow stuff on social media. I post, but I don't read what people are saying, so people that DM, I don't even do DMs or any of that stuff. So, but I've just felt it from a lot of people in my circle. Look, I don't think we want to compare this to President Kennedy getting shot, but I've heard my mom talk about what that was like and how emotional it was and the people that have cried and how they worry for their country and where we're going, because when it's internal, it's so much different than when it's external. When the threat is external, we're all together. When it's internal, we wonder if we can stay together. I mean, this feels like two parents fighting. Is there going to be a divorce? It's just been a terrible week.
It has been. And I agree. I don't sit here as someone who was a huge consumer of Charlie's content, not because I didn't like him and agree with him. I did, but there's not any one person where I consume a ton of their content because I want to make sure my ideas are mine, right? That's just kind of how we operate in this space. But this one, I don't know if it's because of a similar age, kids are a similar age in a somewhat similar line of work. I don't know. It has hit harder than I would have ever imagined, and I'm not quite sure I've grasped the why behind that.
I think what bothered them most about Charlie Kirk was, and they didn't believe his facts. You know, he'd argue the point and stuff. You debate a hardened liberal, they're never going to believe you. They're going to think you're making something up. That's a lie. They'll do that. It wasn't that. It was when he brought it forth the way he did it, not just with the conviction, but the attitude. He had a way about him that he didn't shout people down.
Nope.
He didn't insult them and call their names.
Nope.
But it felt kind of mean. And I think they felt that. There was either something a little bit elitist about him, something that was just, I've dealt with this in my career. Mine was sports background, and people get really mad. I'm like, dude, I'm just telling you the truth. They don't like the way I deliver it a lot of times. The way I say things, this has been my whole life, not just on radio, rubs people wrong. It happens in social settings. It's happened in my personal life. It's happened with my family. I know that I rub people wrong sometimes, not by the words that I'm saying or even that I'm calling you a name or something like that. It's how I do it. I can't change that. Charlie Kirk had that times 10. There was something about him that rubbed people really wrong if you didn't like him. Does that make any sense? And I'm not justifying any of this. I'm simply saying a 22-year-old college student that's getting radicalized on campus and doesn't like Charlie Kirk gets it from Charlie Kirk, and it sounds different than coming from even Ben Shapiro or somebody else. That was the one they didn't like, and there was a reason, and it was personal. It was clearly very personal. That's not Charlie's fault. He didn't do anything wrong. It was wildly effective, and he was a genius as far as I'm concerned. But I think that's why they hated him so much. It's the same reason they hate Trump so much. There's plenty of conservatives and plenty of people out there, but they don't speak the way Trump does. Trump's gotten to a point where he doesn't insult anymore. He just makes fun of people. Mm-hmm. He just reduces it to late night comedy.
Yeah.
You know, he comes up with funny names and Newscomb and all this stuff. It's just, but they hate it. They hate his personality. They hate the delivery. They hate the way he does it. And even Republicans have hated Trump because of that delivery. You can rub people the wrong way even when you're right. And I think Charlie Kirk had some of that in him. I'm just looking for topics and reasons and what may have triggered this crazy kid. That's all I can come up with, man. They clearly don't like Charlie Kirk, but there was something about him that was a little more aggressive in tone than a lot of other conservatives, and I think that's what they really hate on the left. They hate the personalities,
I agree,
Pete.
But here's the thing. I actually think that the similarity between Trump and Charlie is how effective they were.
True.
You know, I think that's the similarity. I never viewed Charlie as aggressive, but what he did that Shapiro doesn't do and some of these other guys is he went to them and he challenged them in their backyards. And Shapiro has done that over the years, but no one's done it like Charlie Kirk.
Correct.
And I think that's the thing that he did that these other guys didn't do at that level that frequently. He made a living off of saying, I'm coming to your backyard. I'm challenging you on your home field to make a sports analogy.
You and I are saying the same thing now. That's exactly what I mean. And combative's not the right word.
No, he really wasn't.
It's not the right word, but his behavior, his desire, his entire presentation was, I'm coming for you and I'm going to teach you that you're wrong. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that they're wrong.
Yeah, because you're right. Because, if you're Ben Shapiro hosting a podcast, you can just choose to not consume it. He literally said, I'm going to your home field, and I'm telling you why I think you're wrong.
That's right.
And we're going to have a civil debate about it. Never raised his voice. I mean, watch these Charlie Kirk videos. There's not one that you're going to find where he is in your face, offensive. The delivery, to me, wasn't like that from Charlie Kirk.
No.
So, to me, it's more about how he went out there and wanted to challenge people in a civil way that offended people more than anything else.
I think you're right, and you've touched on it on the effectiveness, because there's another guy that says an awful lot of things, and apparently he's not liked on the left, but he's not hated like Charlie Kirk. I think Charlie Kirk was number 2. I think J.D. Vance will become number 2 on their hate list, and eventually number 1 after Trump is out. But the one that doesn't really register, that is unbelievable the things he says and does, but it doesn't seem to bother him as badly, is Donald Trump Jr. Mm-hmm. This guy will say anything.
Yeah.
He's like his dad. But they don't seem to hate him like they hate everyone else. And I think a lot of it is just in the delivery, or they see him as harmless or no threat. You're right. It's the threat. It's the threat to the left. It's the threat to their way of life. This guy's sick. How do you engrave stuff on ammunition?
I know.
Like that? Who goes to this trouble? And this had to be one of the most conservative households ever. His dad was in law enforcement. This is St. George, Utah, where the family's from. The dad was a sheriff's department marshal there for 27 years. I was just there last week. We spent 4 nights there. It's one of the most beautiful places in America. It's 90% conservative. You're growing up in a conservative bubble. I assume he went off to college somewhere 3 years ago, and now there's pictures of him in 2021 wearing a mask, the whole COVID thing. He goes off to college, and at the back end of COVID, he's in college, and I have no doubt that exactly what happened was, this is our educational system. Somebody gave him solace on that campus. He found comfort. He probably didn't have many friends. Whatever, was probably a professor or a group of people that were anti-Trump, didn't like their parents, they're in Utah, maybe we don't like the Mormons, whatever it may be, and became radicalized on campus. I have no doubt that's what happened with this guy. None.
Oh, man. What a week. It's been more difficult than I would have ever imagined, to be honest. And, you did a great job yesterday. I know today you'll have a busy hour, a lot of breaking news this morning. What are you thinking about going into the weekend?
I mean, I'm just an honest guy. This is selfish. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad they've caught him. I mean, we need to heal and move on. It sounds like, left-wing platitudes when you say things like that. But, man, I got friends that are like, this is too much. They didn't get this upset when Trump got shot in the ear, and I think that's because Trump didn't die, and he got back up, and he was like, fight, fight, fight. And they're like, okay, let's fight on. I don't know, man. I feel like, again, the best analogy is I feel like a kid whose parents are fighting and a divorce is coming. Yeah. Something's not good in America.
Well, we'll be listening Uncanceled coming up right after the top of the hour news. Have a great weekend. Try to get away from it all if you can, and we'll be back Monday.
Thank you, buddy. You too.
Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, is next. Have a great weekend. God bless. We'll be back Monday.